Now going back to the topic of today's panel, many phases of dual-use tech. I would like to start still with that, topic, pure defense versus dual tech, but let's take it from another perspective. We just heard what VCs are thinking, but what about the startup? Going two directions, does it help you to focus on your product development and getting it to the market fast? What is your view? I don't know, Henri or Marek, who would like to start?
I can start, yes. So what we essentially do in the commercial track is very close what we are aiming with the dual use, but however structuring the company in a way that the business diversification is on the table all the time. So what we try to look in the organization and how we build and grow is to meet somewhere, and I think for us as a deep tech dual-use company, the obvious place that we meet as an organization is the technology. We are software-only solutions, so that probably helps quite much compared that if you have a hardware dependencies and other things that might be hard to kind of distinguish. So basically, if I put it really simply, if you have the same source code that can serve both tracks, it makes it much easier. But on the other hand, the challenge comes with the building of business because the cycles are different. And in our case, we are much ahead with the commercial track that we kind of catch up, maybe even a bit slower defense and dual use track, and how that matches together in the whole organization and how you build the company.
What about you, Marek? How do you see this topic?
How I see it, that our technology is like a platform technology, and initially the main aim is, of course, like Henri said, that to create the business traction from the civilian use. That's definitely. When we started the company a few years ago, no one imagined that will be war and urgent needs from the battlefield, and the civilian purpose has to be the main priority. And then how I see it. Being as a dual-use tech, that we don't have at the moment urgent access or use to our technology to help the Ukraine win the war, but definitely there is a strong link between such a technology, that measuring the infrastructure, making sure that your bridges can afford the tanks, your logistics is enabling to support your troops. That's definitely the case, and then basically we see that we are close to the civilian, but in a future perspective we can also help out the government in terms of being more strong in defense sense.
Well, thank you. Kadri, what is perspective of the Young Accelerator? I mean, you are still, as I understand, focusing on NATO priority areas, and what is your view, what you advise, what you mentor startups who get into your accelerator on this aspect, where to focus? Shall we go two directions, or shall we, I don't know, start on something and then go into another sector?
I would strongly like to emphasize what was said during the previous panel as well, that we need both. We need single use and we need dual use tech. But let's get the facts straight. So defense market in Europe only last year was like roughly close to 400 billion euro market. If you would add commercial market to it, you will very quickly understand there's like a huge scalable market, a huge business opportunity for you. I think dual use makes a lot of sense business-wise, and it's definitely part of protecting democracies as well. It plays a significant role in that one as well. On the same time, it can be twice as hard. So because dual use, it's not about tech development only. Dual use it's a business strategy. You are tackling both lanes, the commercial lane and the defense lane. Roughly speaking, I would dare to say over 95% of the startups that we have in Europe, even probably more, they are anyhow, even if they would be considering defense tech or dual-use tech, they would be coming from the civilian domain. So this is their background, they have the previous knowledge on that domain. So how to pull off a business model now that tackles both? So, and considering defense, it is super hard. It tends to be, and it's growing to be more agile, and the procurement cycles are getting shorter, but it's still super hard. And they aren't as short as they should be. And the development cycles as well. So for the defense previously, we were like procuring something that the military forces would be actively using within a 10-year time frame or so. Now the development cycles have boiled down to basically 2 months, or in some cases 2 weeks. So it is a heavy pressure for the tech development team. So what we are doing at NATO, Diana, is that we are basically helping the civilian founders to find their way into defense.
Well, thank you. We started speaking about the numbers and procurement, and I remember my own discussions with our MOD and officials when I was saying, about what are procurement plans for startups. They were asking me, Viktorija, can you guarantee that your startup will survive 5 to 8 years? Because this is the typical defense procurement cycle. And my answer was, well, I cannot guarantee you that, but I can definitely guarantee you that my startup will die after 1 or 2 years if there will be no procurement for startups. So again, coming from your experience, selling to military, to defense, what are the biggest challenges and what are lessons learned and tricks that you would be able to share with other aspiring entrepreneurs?
From our point of angle, that the lessons learned is that you need just tackle with the time. Of course, like Kadri mentioned, it's coming closer, but still takes time to provide something to the defense use, and then meanwhile. The speed of getting new technology to the market, it's still it's not easy task, but it helps us the longer perspective also be more valuable for the defense forces. So participating in accelerators, showing yourself at what is the actual definition of your technology, or behind your technology being the dual-use technology, and being patient that at the current stage of time, the military needs urgent technology. Drones are fashion words. So if I'm talking with the high-level generals in Estonia, they think the urgent need is that how efficient they needs to be in terms of the casualties. What are the efficiency on the battlefield? But in the longer term, I think if the time goes time passed, and then we win this war, then the more strategic approach, that what are these technology helping us as a Europe being more ready such bad things like we're experiencing now, and then talk to the people, to get closer to the people who will buy in future your technology, and then educate them on knowledge, get them knowledge that what technology coming to the market.
One thing that maybe I've been stumbling and thinking a lot is that in our commercial track we have a quite clear revenue model based on monthly recurring revenue and annual recurring revenue, and that's even hard for in the telecom sector actually to swallow. And then I'm looking at the opportunity that how would I be able to retain our revenue model, and how ready is that market to absorb something like this? Because on the other hand, the recurring revenue is the bread and butter in investment perspective, and we as a startup cannot afford that we make different models for different business. At least they need to somehow be ending in the same place. And I don't have any direct answers here, but looking at the kind of the cycles and how would that fit into that pure software SaaS model, it is a bit of an interesting thought, I would say, and that's why I'm kind of a bit my head quite much thinking about it. Anything that you have been able to see, Marek, in your surroundings in terms of revenues? Is there something that you could share that would you be learning?
Yeah, we are expecting our revenue not from the military side. We are targeting the civil engineering companies who is taking care of the millions of bridges. In Europe, we have 2 million bridges, and half of them are more than 50 years old. In Dresden, sadly, we heard the news that in the middle of the town, the bridge collapsed. And basically, we are saying at the moment that let's get ready, or let's get more acknowledged how we maintenance this infrastructure. And also, you said in the backstage that you have been the driver of the tank, and then one tank can be 40 tons. So if you want to move tank from another point, you need to be sure that roads and the bridges are the most secure to do that. So.
Kadri, do you think Europe has waken really up and acknowledged this need to really move faster? And you as ecosystem facilitator, with all accelerated testing centers and facilitating also the dialogue between science community, military community, investors and inventors, are we up to the speed?
No, we are not. Is an honest answer. So definitely the speed is already better than it was a few years back. But whether we are there, I don't think so. But I would like to highlight actually one thing is that what founders need to understand is that building a dual-use company, it's a more resilient way. So just like following your ideas as well. So having revenues flying in from the commercial track, but if you would be speaking to military generals and the heads of the military forces, they would say you that they are not looking for experimental technologies. They are looking for solid solutions that they can actually use on the battlefield. So what does it mean for a startup? It tends to leave them empty-handed for the early stage startups at least. So what I do think is that we need to step up that section and that game as well, that there is a procurement and we need to shorten the procurement timeframes. But at the same time, we will need to have bigger budgets for experimental work. I think that the majority of the nations have those experimental budgets, but they tend to be that small that it doesn't play a significant role for startups, basically. And there's definitely a gap in between. So yeah, we would need to step up the game, and this is very much the reason why NATO Diana is supporting throughout our programs as well, the kind of influx potentially due to defense, because civilian founders, they simply don't understand the game, and without understanding the game, it's super hard to play the game, actually, to have a meaningful say in those procurement cycles. And the other thing is that the defense market has been for decades and decades dominated only by the primes, basically by the system integrators. I think we would need to find more agile ways how startups can interact, in some of the cases at least, directly with the defense forces. And that's one of the gaps, I think, as well.
I think I can understand the generals, because we as venture capitalists, we risk money. Generals risk lives of the people. And you mentioned primes. So again, I'm turning to Henri and to Marek. What is your experience? What do you think about one of the recommended sometimes strategies to startups? Team up with primes, develop something that are part of the bigger offering and benefit from their established relationships. Is it working? Have you tried it? Or what do you think about it?
I would maybe go a bit even further, that first find friends. So utilizing accelerators, incubators, new forming kind of alliances where there are other startups. There are defense players, but there are also players like system integrators. That is the place for learning and understanding together also how the dynamics would work. How would it generate into the sustainable business? Because in the end of the day, only thing that a startup needs to do is to find a sustainable business, not to promote your technology. So that kind of thing has been very, very good for me and our company, that being able to being part of the define community and ecosystem in Riihimäki, because you immediately get access to the relevant decision makers and you start to learn. And I think the strength of a startup comes with the ability and agility of learning. And coming to an, let's say, not maybe so agile part of defense, I think there's actually also much that startups can teach to the other side. So it's not a one-way road in that sense.
We just in Estonia got news today that the few very high-ranked generals joined with one startup in today in Estonia, and this is the one startup I think very lucky because they have all like strategic thinking power over the capabilities. So capability is the key word, like Kadri, you mentioned that most of the startups they don't have too much knowledge about that what's really needed in the urgent perspective or the longer perspective, and I think this is the gap we need to fill. That there might be very few, very small companies today at the moment who can contribute in the longer perspective very much. We had a meeting in Estonia, and one Ukrainian guy with a new startup was on the stage, and they basically how they invented some kind of sound wave to capture the sound of the drones very quickly during the world war times, and now they are already providing these the mechanism. That's like a that was the lucky case that they understood quickly the capabilities urgently needed, but I think this kind of, I don't want to sound bureaucratic, but this kind of like comprehensive planning that over the capabilities, what we can provide now and what we can provide after 5 years, after 10 years. 10 years in the defense league it's a short time, so if we don't start now, we are not capable to do it in 10 years after. So the cooperation or collaboration between the technology guys and the strategic planning level or C-level guys from the end client, this definitely needs to be improved.
Yeah, but understanding the game in the longer run as well, because once again, coming back to the fact whether you're building a dual-use company or a single-use company. So it has been said, I think, in every conference that Ukrainian startups have the kind of competitive advantage due to the reason that they have on-spot validation as we speak. On the other hand, we all think and hope and pray that the war will be over very soon. What happens to single-use companies once the active war is over? What historically has happened, there is a huge drop down of demand after that period. So anyhow, potentially there would be then a need to become a dual-use company. This is one thing, and having this longer vision in mind, it is, I think, needed for to understand your business. So what's the exit for you? So are you in the game for like 20 years? Are you that type of a founder? Are you looking for an exit? For an exit, an industry prime could be an excellent way out, but it comes with different options as well. So the tech could be used throughout the system integrators, but it can be parked on the shelf as well. So it has happened to many of the startups. So would you take that option if that option would be on the table? So there are like so many things around business strategy while you're a founder.
Well, you're making a very right point, and I think that also depends on individual strategies of each fund. Like our fund, we make business decisions, but at the same time, we have a mission to build ecosystem, act as enablers. I remember speaking with other specialized defense fund who said, our LPs told us, we don't care about returns right now. We want you to win the war. And this is defense fund that invests in the UK. I liked what you mentioned, like today, something happened because so many things are happening in Europe over the last 2 years that literally what even the same people were speaking a month or two ago, we already, have a different view. And just yesterday, there were two quite, I would say, big announcements for our ecosystem made at European level. For the first time ever in the history, there will be a commissioner on startups and innovation and research, and another one which I am proud to know, and I have worked in his government, first crisis government, Andrius Kubilius, the first commissioner on defense and space. Any tips, like one thing what these two people should do for the ecosystem? They have a tough task. Being the first, it means that we need to build everything, but still, what is the one most critical item what you think Europe needs to do to actually enable dual use and deep tech innovations?
I'm a big fan, and I've been doing lean and agile for most of my career. And one of the lean thinking is that go out on the street, get out if you're a decision maker, that what is really happening, not that the old structures that are built for different decade and different world, and that comes with an interactions and understanding of people and companies and the different entities. So be brave, go there as a startup, but especially as a politician, and then don't be shielded by the things that are built for different time.
My suggestion is, under one keyword is the speed. If you're saying what Europe needs to do, that how we can be faster. I see a lot of good initiatives in terms of the Diana or new dual-use funds established, and then interest is going towards to the technology companies. But the question is the speed, how we can just be more rapid in terms of the action. So the tickets doesn't have to be high in the first stage. So, but just to improve, validate that that technology has the potential. Validate is the team is good enough to put the knowledge through or the message through to the dual use context. And basically from startup side, I'm 50 years old, relatively young startup, never knew that the time goes so fast. So from the startup point of view. So, but if we considering that how we spend or how we managing the investments or doing the investments decisions, so I would encourage to increase the speed.
Actually, in that letter from Ursula von der Leyen to the commissioner, she was giving him a very direct mandate to be faster, to be more agile and bold, so to say. And I think I totally agree, definitely with the speed factor. I think there are basically three things. So first of all, there are already steps regarding investment community. So, for example, European Investment Bank, Nordic Investment Bank, willing to support those VCs, definitely. And now we want to see VCs actually making deals. So it's not about mindset shift. This has happened already. Make deals, make them now. Make early stage deals, make scalable deals as well. So we need investments throughout the rounds. This is definitely one thing. The second thing I already pointed out, I think nations, governments need to be bolder with the experimental budgets, be bolder, interacting directly with startups as well. This needs to be, once again, it's a matter of speed, basically. And then the third thing, for the founders, basically, be curious, be focused, and try to understand defense. And this is crucial, because if you're trying to sell something to someone without understanding what it is, actually what they want and need, and how they would be using it, I think it's going to be a short conversation.
Well, this sounded like an encouragement, especially as you looked at me about making investments. So, again, our fund, for example, got the mandate to invest in defense only last March. And by now we co-invested already almost 7 million. and the last time exceeded targets twice, and now this year 5 times with commitment to continue. And there are, as Sandra showed, some numbers. So the numbers which she showed, like today for the Baltics and the Finland, they were basically a big round zero 1 or 2 years ago. So we are picking up the speed. And speaking of speed and time, I don't know if we have questions. Time for questions from the audience, because this time is ticking in less a minute on the screen, which I see. Will the organizers give us time, or will the audience give us questions? Because if there are no questions, we could close, but we would like to answer anything you might want to say. Well, I guess the panels today were very in-depth, but you can always find the speakers later. So, final words. Kadri, we'll start from you.
I think the final recommendation would be what I already pointed out. Be focused, because you can be all over the place while going after the dual-use strategy. And it tends to be twice as hard, and it could be twice as rewarding as well.
I'm here a bit in between, because I'm also 50 years old and startup, and life goes so fast. So speed, but also that understanding that make a decision. Don't investigate too long time. Make a decision, experiment, take the learning, and go forward. That's I would say.
From my side, maybe another key word is competitiveness. So we are talking with one VC at the moment, and as a deep tech company, we are now building this business traction up. But this team lead, he was so much focused on that Marek, how you can keep your competitiveness in 5 to 10 years perspective. So and then we explained that, and after that the due deal started. So it's not like about what's happening now, but also getting or being competitive in the longer perspective, and that's also like really important to understand and how to do that.
And I will close the panel also by saying that my blood is boiling when I still receive this question, is it ethical to invest in defense? Because, you can kill a person just with words. Just look at suicide rates in some of the country, including my own Lithuania. So words do matter, and maybe to kind of reduce anxiety in the population, we should use the other keyword that NATO has. NATO has 2 keywords, deterrence and defense. So I suggest each and all of us, especially VCs, at a high speed, in an agile way, invest in deterrence so that no one dares to attack us. And if we make such mistake, then let me paraphrase one of my favorite men. We will defend ourselves, we will fight on the land, on the street, on the beaches, and we shall not flag on fail. Because without victory, there is no survival, and there are no returns on any other investment types. So Slava Ukraini, and these people are fighting and dying for us so that we can enjoy and live our normal lives. Thank you very much to our panelists. Thank you for the audience. You can ask your questions in private during coffee breaks, and have a great event.